All right, the Healing Project. Here we are.
Yes. Episode 9.
Yes.
Today we're talking about the cost of hiding, vulnerability, suffering, and living wholeheartedly. So, what would happen if people actually knew the real you?
That's a good question.
Would they judge you? Would they run away from you? Or could they possibly love you even more if they got to know the real you? So, in today's thing, we just are going to explore that. What would happen if they really knew you? In my world, I've spent years with walls up as a
Yeah,
nurse, as a mom, in grief, and even in marriage, right? We put
right.
up walls and we hide what's really going on inside. Being vulnerable is very scary. So, naming it and working through it can change everything.
Yeah, I think there's something really powerful for each one of us to take ownership of that process.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're so adept. I listen to Jordan Peterson a lot, and you know, taking ownership, taking responsibility for one's life, making one's bed, starting with kind of cleaning up your area, cleaning up, kind of getting your life in order. There is something honorable about doing that and
Mm-hmm.
kind of bearing the weight of responsibility. There is honor in that. What I'm afraid that happens to a lot of people is as they begin to bear that weight of responsibility, we both can attest this, and professionally, in relationships, in social settings, you bear that weight and you almost are a persona of yourself
Mm-hmm.
and you become something else and you put on a mask, you put on a title, you put on whatever it is. And there is something that is very noble and admirable about bearing one's own responsibility and bearing that weight. But most of the time, we find there's a kind of a counterbalance where we bear it, but in silence. Therefore, we will almost allow it to crush us
Mm-hmm.
to the point to where we have no outlet. We have no way of expressing how we truly feel or what we're really going through. Or there's all kind of studies, especially in men's health and mental health and parents and caregivers,
Mm-hmm.
all the roles. We've talked about burnout so much,
Mm-hmm.
and this ties right into it because we don't get a space to share our voice and share what we're really going through and the fears, some of the pressures. We can attest that even like if we're having an honest conversation,
Right.
even as we're recording this podcast, there's some real big things that have come down and beared down on us, and we're processing those. And it's not all joyous and wonderful. And you have to have a safe space that you can actually find your voice
Mm-hmm.
and not just bear it alone.
Absolutely. I've been listening to Brené Brown,
Brene Brown, yeah,
and she's amazing.
right.
I feel like
Two
she's my
opposite ends of the spectrum,
I feel
for
like
sure.
she's my soul sister,
Yeah,
right? I feel like she talks a lot about checklist,
right.
and it's amazing. I've listened to her while I'm running at the gym,
Yeah,
and just some of her TED talks and things. And she talks about how, well, I got into this field, but I got into this field to clean it up,
right,
right? To go in and find all the mental health issues and all the social injustice and all the things and kind of clean it all up and organize it and then fix it, right? Like
right.
that was her goal. And in all of the research that she's done, she has found that vulnerability is one of the
Yeah,
scariest things, but it is also one of the things that can set you free,
right.
which is crazy that it's on both sides of the coin. But she talks about how guilt says,
Mm,
I did something bad,
yeah,
and shame says, I am bad.
because Peterson will say, suffering, facing one's suffering will bring you meaning. And there is something powerful about that. But if we're not careful, sometimes we can bear that suffering in silence and then it becomes guilt.
Yes.
and then it becomes shame.
Yes.
And that's when it becomes something that steals life from us
Absolutely.
instead of giving life to us.
Absolutely. Because shame thrives in silence.
Right.
Right? It's when we put on those faces, those facades, those personas, and we pretend and we put on the mask and we just overfunction and we keep going and it's
Right.
the rub some dirt on it, right? That
Right.
mentality. And then it's, I mean, I've changed jobs. We're not going to talk about where I worked before, but I changed jobs because it was overbearing. I would work 12, 16-hour days
Sure.
and then come home and chart for 3 or 4 hours
Right.
because I was drowning, right? And I felt like I had to just keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing
Sure.
up because I am a caregiver at heart, love
Sure.
my patients, and right, and it meant everything to me. So in that, it becomes in silence,
Right.
and then it
Because
becomes guilt and shame.
guilt says you're doing it wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and then shame says you are the problem,
Right.
or you're doing something that's creating a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then shame says you are the problem. And there is something about taking responsibility because we do have to face some things. We do have to, if we've created our own storm, well, there's enough of life that comes. The old wisdom is it rains on the just and the unjust alike. There's enough in life that happens. Life be lifing sometimes.
Yeah.
And there's enough of that that happens. But when we do create our own issues and our own challenges and our own storms, we have to take onus and responsibility of that. But the flip side is there's so much that we do take on
Mm-hmm.
that necessarily isn't ours to carry,
Mm-hmm.
isn't ours to hold. And sometimes the wisest thing is to be vulnerable and to let go of one thing so that we can hold on to another.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we kind of found you in your space because we're kind of reevaluating like, is this lining up with the quality of life? Is this
Right.
lining up with us
My
being
moral
our
compass,
moral
our
compass?
family work life balance.
Our right, is our cup, constantly empty,
Mm-hmm.
or are we able to fill that up so that you can take care of your patients
Yes.
and you can help encourage your coworkers and other caregivers
Mm-hmm.
being in that space, and you found that, and like we're praying and kind of looking for that for it in my situation as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we know we kind of have a hard year ahead of us. We have school and we have
Yes.
responsibilities and we have professional growth. There's all kinds of things that we're working on. And in all of that, we have got to find a constant space where we can step away from guilt and shame. Because it's one thing if you're not taking up the load, if you're not taking on the
Right.
responsibility, if you're not kind of bearing the weight.
Right.
But most people that are tuning into this, they are bearing the weight.
Right.
But we don't want you to do so in silence. We don't want you to suffer in silence.
Right.
So
And even in your world when you stepped away from the church,
yeah, and
and you had a lot of guilt of the people that you were leaving behind,
100%, I
right?
still
And
wrestle
in
guilt and
silence,
shame.
a lot of that has come down to shame,
Right.
right?
And what I found was, and it was, because for me it was not just a job or a career, it was a whole personages. It was a whole identity. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was everything, both at home and there. There was never like a
There
place
was
where you
no
just turned it off.
right where you go to work and you
Yeah,
come home, right?
sure, sure.
You would
Yeah,
get
yeah,
phone calls, you would
right.
get right.
We watched this strange show called Severance, and there was no severance, right? There was no
Right.
opportunity where you're innie and you're outie. If you're a sci-fi fan, you
Right.
follow, right, where you get to kind of be that
Separate.
role, and then you
Yes.
can turn it off, and you can be. There was never that opportunity. There was, and for my ministry friends, they'll know this. Their family never gets. They live in a glass house constantly. Their
Yeah.
children are judged, and it's not throwing stones at church systems, but a lot of times, we're unhealthy people and we're broken, and the difference is people that are aware of it
Mm-hmm.
and they can have a space to work on
Yeah.
that, and those that are not, and that is a lot of times spaces in those cases where people don't have an opportunity to raise a voice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not encouraged, right?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of essentially spiritually rub some dirt on it. You go have a good service.
Right.
You kind of go, and have a good, we would call it a breakthrough,
Yeah.
whatever that is. And you kind of have this spiritual,
Moment.
euphoric moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of it almost becomes a quick fix.
Right.
And we don't, get to the root cause of what the connection points are and
And
what
I think that's where the mental health and faith and medical all come together,
converge.
right?
Yeah.
It's where it
And there's no
all
shame. There's
there
no
is
shame in
no
it.
shame. That moment is real.
I'm going
We've
to be,
all had it,
yeah, I'm going
right?
to be
We've all had
really
those moments where you have where you feel something physically, you
sure.
feel something emotionally, you like it's a whole moment.
Well, there was, and this is being really, really transparent. There was a sense that, if you sought any help outside of that spiritual environment, that you were a person of lesser faith.
Mm,
If you sought, a therapist input, if you needed a medication, a mental health medication, that somehow that was a sign or a signal of weak or less faith.
yeah.
And it
We are
really,
not in
yeah,
support of any of
sure.
that. Just
And again, I'm not. We're not just saying let's just quick to medicate something,
no,
but we
absolutely.
do need to find a space where we can express real hurts, real pain,
Mm-hmm.
real suffering, whether that's things that happen to us or things
Around
that
us.
we around us or things we maybe brought on ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to express those and not hide them, because when we hide them, we do have a duplicity. And I was in that space where I was a people pleaser
Mm-hmm.
from early on in my childhood, because of things that were kind of falling apart. I had to become a people pleaser, and that just, it then became a toxic codependent state,
Right.
to where when I finally did find my voice and started to speak out, the truth was a lot.
Yeah.
And then when everything kind of like fell away and fell apart, I still struggle with shame and guilt from that, because it then was silence,
Right.
because I hadn't found that space. When I finally did go to therapy, when I finally did reach
Mm-hmm.
out for help, when it was like it had been years and years and years that I was way past the expiration date of getting help. And if we can encourage anybody, if you take anything away from this conversation, it's just, yes, you do need to take on the suffering in life. Yes, life is hard and there is suffering, but in that suffering,
Mm-hmm.
you can marry those two worlds. It doesn't have to all be.
It, what do you always say? More than one thing can be true at a time,
Yes, there
right?
there can be more than one thing true at one time.
Yes.
Two things can be true. Three things can be true.
Right.
You
Right.
can, yes, you can have that clean your own room, take on your responsibility, but and at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, you can make a space for being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to make
And you
sure.
can have space where faith is a fuel for your healing,
Yes,
and you can have space
it's
where a
hopeful.
therapist is a safe space
100%.
to talk to. And there is a time that if you need medication, if you're severely depressed or you have debilitating anxiety or any of those things, that medication is needed and merited and okay,
Absolutely.
right? So it can all coexist in one space. But here's the truth that both Brennan says and the Bible: vulnerability isn't weakness,
Correct.
it's courage. So in Psalms 34:5, it says, "Those who look to him are radiant, their faces are never covered with shame."
Mm, that's so good.
So, right? It's the picture of freedom.
Yeah.
It's shame can't cover you if you show up fully, right? If you're honest and
Yeah.
you're you and
Yeah.
you're right. And I'm not telling anyone that you need to go
You don't need to bear it all to everyone,
right.
right?
No, no,
But
no, no.
there are people that you can be transparent
Yes.
around, and those are your people.
They are.
Those
And
are
if
your
you don't
people.
have anyone you could be transparent around,
Find it.
then you need to find someone that
Yeah.
is your people. Then
And
you
if
may
that
be with
means
people that are not your people
right. And
if
that
all you're doing is pleasing
and
them.
again, that's not a judgment.
It's
It's not
not.
saying that someone is wrong or evil or bad. It just means that you need a different environment to
Right.
grow.
Right.
And uh, if you can't find it in an immediate person, find a support group
Mm-hmm.
for whatever you've experienced. There's a support group there.
100%.
If you can just start the process,
Mm-hmm.
I know you have a couple steps for us in a little bit, but whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever helps you kind of find that space where you can use your voice so that you don't suffer in silence.
Absolutely. And just right now, we're coming back into the school year starting,
Yeah,
right? Summer's over. Everybody's getting school uniforms and
right,
supplies, and the checklist are a mini, right?
right,
All the fees, all the things. You and I are both in school, in higher education, trying to further
correct,
our education to be able to help more people.
right,
We still have a 13-year-old in the house. It's going into the 8th grade. We have a college first freshman going into
sure,
college this year. We have a lot going on. And we both work full time, right? So it's a lot. So just expectation wise, I just want people to know that we are going to be doing a full video like this every other week
yeah,
for a little while because
sure.
we need to make sure that we are kind of
Pacing
taking care
ourselves.
of our
Well,
right.
we're living out what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because we talked about vulnerability, and you have Brené Brown wrote this about that place of being vulnerable and talking about it and saying, hey, look, maybe we're not practicing what we're preaching
Right.
because like you really worked hard and you included me somewhat in the project, but you really spearheaded the project. And we had some book sales this week, and
Yeah.
you kind of went really really all the way in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to have like heart to heart conversations about finding a healthy pace because we know what's coming
Mm-hmm.
down the road, and instead of just drowning and then all of a sudden there's no telling, when you're overwhelmed and you feel like you need escape, that it becomes a dangerous space because you feel like you're suffering alone.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you need to run for the hills, right? Whatever that might be.
Right, for
You
sure.
need maybe I have one glass of wine, I'll have two, right? And then it leads to you just start picking up these habits that will turn into
To
vices
cope.
and to cope. And instead of just being vulnerable, being like, hey, I need help. She wrote this: vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity.
Mm,
So tell the truth, be seen. Even if you're telling the truth, your voice is shaking. Find a space,
yeah.
find someone that you can be vulnerable with.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say, hey, look, because what happens is people get wounded and they get hurt and they don't recover from it because they never had a safe space.
And then you're always,
Then it's
it's
100%.
always
You
a
see,
hundred
you see it.
percent.
Well, you see it. Then they're online all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and always every
My silly Disney movie that I watched
yeah,
is all about vulnerability. The
yeah,
little girl, like she's the only one in the family who
right,
doesn't have a special power, right? And so she feels that she's less than everyone else in her
yeah.
family. And at the end of the movie, she's the one who saves the whole family because she's honest and truthful and she brings everyone together, right?
You've loved this movie.
I
You've
love
talked to
this movie.
everybody.
I
Yeah.
cried my eyes out watching this movie with the
I don't know if I
grandbaby.
got that same, but that's fine.
It was
Whatever spoke to
great.
you,
It
yeah.
spoke to
But
me like
again,
crazy.
it's okay. Like whatever that is, here's a helpful tip, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you're, let's say you're scrolling on Instagram, if you come across one thing that just strikes you, don't move past it.
Mm-hmm.
Sit there and, reflect on it. Close your phone, write that
Journal,
down,
right?
journal. Let's talk about some steps because we want to give people tools.
We
One thing we
do.
want to do is always give something
Mm-hmm.
as a tool. And a shameless plug here, we have had some book sales
Yes,
to the two journals. They're partners together. You're going to talk about some journaling prompts that are available
we
on,
do.
they're going to be in the show notes, but
Mm-hmm.
we want people to be able to take these tools and not just say, well, we wrote a book and, whatever.
Absolutely.
This is not a checklist for us. but it's creating a space
Mm-hmm.
for people and a tool that we've found helpful for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We've found strength in being able to be vulnerable, being able to journal, being able to find
Mm-hmm.
therapeutic pace.
Mm-hmm.
So we want people to do the same.
So a couple of things. One, so these are the few tools that you were talking about. So journaling,
Yeah.
write down, where am I hiding right now? What would it look like to be seen
Mm.
in that space? Being really honest with yourself, right? And again, we talked about, burn the journal. No one needs to read it. This
Right.
is between you and God or your divine. This is for you, right? And being really honest in that space of what you're hiding from. Um, are you hiding from a situation or are you hiding in a situation? Like, what does that really look like?
Right.
And then safe sharing. We talked about that. Finding a safe person, a safe place. Just find one person that you could share one thing with this week.
Right.
And you can be really honest about where you are, where you're hurting, where you feel shame, where you're scared. Um, we have some older family members right now that are having some health issues, and there's a lot of fear around that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of I 100%. I am a firefighter by definition. I want
Yeah.
to fix everything and everyone and to do list it to death, right? Like that's what I want to do. And having to realize what is the pace, what can I do, how can I do, and how can I do it the best that I can
Right.
in this space that I'm allowed to be in, right? And trying to honor that is really hard because I want to take over. And then spiritual reflection, read Romans 8:1. There is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Let that truth confront the shame.
Yeah.
Like, just write it on your mirror,
Yeah.
write it on a card, put it on your dash, like wherever you're going to see it kind of every day this week. Just kind of put it somewhere where you can just let it confront the
Yeah.
shame and let yourself breathe through
Shame
that
doesn't let the
situation.
light in. It doesn't want the light
No.
in. And that shame becomes an overbearing weight that will crush us. It'll crush us. And burnout, those things that we've talked about
Mm-hmm.
in the past, they're all connected in a strange way. It's amazing what fear will do.
Mm-hmm.
And fear is like a root cause, and shame is one of those offsprings.
It is
We're afraid. We're afraid if people saw us for who we really are,
what they would think.
what they would think, what we struggle with, what
Mm-hmm.
we, who, what, where, when, all the details.
Mm-hmm.
But we're living a half truth, and we're living essentially a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And we for whatever reason we have these gray areas that we're okay with, but really it's not serving us. It's not serving our health.
No,
It's not serving
our family,
our family.
our
It's not serving
jobs.
our jobs. It's
It,
not serving the roles that we and the different hats we have to
right.
fulfill and put on. It's not.
Mm-mm.
And so the more vulnerable that we can be, and again, you got to use some wisdom. Use some
Mm-hmm.
wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just because we feel bad, you know, we're gonna just
Mm-hmm.
trauma dump on everyone.
Right.
Uh, but
Well,
we need
we
to
had
find.
we
We
had
need
a
to.
situation this week where one of our children
Yeah.
was through tears, right? Through a lot of hard conversation and things that were going on, was very vulnerable
Yeah.
with us and was very honest about what was going on.
And there we have to practice grace, space
Mm-hmm.
for grace for them to be able to share.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to share gives a sense of freedom. It's like the
Can
boulders
breathe,
fall
right?
off of our shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
where we can actually breathe and we can look at things more objectively, and just realize that you can find a safe space and you can uh, speak the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's a hard thing, just find that place of grace. So
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
That's so. I want to say this. You wrote this. I want to share it. You don't have to perform your way to being loved.
Mhm.
You can remove shame, and you don't have to have it all together. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to carry suffering in silence. Tell the truth about your pain. Let someone in. Don't erase suffering, but it can actually make it beautiful
Mhm.
because it can take those pieces and it can actually encourage someone else because they're like, I'm going through the same exact thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes we say those things and we don't fully understand that, but your pain is not unique, and what that means, it doesn't mean a slight to you. It just means that you're not on an island. You're
Right.
not alone.
Right.
You're not alone. You're not the only person that's facing, you know,
A
a
sick family
sick family
member,
member,
hard job,
hard,
financial hardships.
correct,
Yeah.
kids going through hard seasons and tough stuff, and
Mhm.
all those things are real, and sometimes it feels overwhelming, like you don't have the answers, and you
Yeah.
feel like I'm alone.
Yeah.
I'm all by myself. I've done too much. I've gone too far. I've messed up, and then
Mhm.
shame starts that cycle and is just repeating over and over, and you're just in a spiral.
Mhm.
So stop that spiral. Stop that
Absolutely.
voice by using your voice,
Mhm.
by speaking up, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not
It's
going to be
not.
something that's lovely and flowery, but uh, just find a space where you're not covered in shame anymore.
Right. Absolutely. And this has been a real eye opener for me to because I can be vulnerable with you.
Yeah,
And for that, I'm very grateful because I realize 100%, right? This is not our first marriage, right? Neither one of us, but I realize 100% that that is not like par for the course in marriage, that you can be vulnerable and honest and speak your truth and do so without fear of retribution or judgment, right?
right,
That your person's still going to love you and they're going to see you
right.
through what you have to go, what you're going through. So for that, I'm extremely grateful. And I hope that everyone finds that, right? They find that safe space, whether it's in a spouse, a friend, a parent, sibling, support group,
But
a therapist. But
please find a safe space,
yes,
a
for sure,
healthy,
a
safe
healthy,
space,
safe space.
because if you don't, it can cause more damage than good.
For sure. So, if this stirs something in you, we did create a free journal starter pack. It's going to be down in the notes. You can just click on that and it's free. Just check out and it'll come to your email. You'll get the link right away, which is just 5 easy prompts that kind of help people with getting started with
Sure.
journaling. It can be a little intimidating when you look at a blank page and you're like, what am I supposed to write?
Right. Right.
Um, and this kind of will help ease you into that. And it's completely free of charge. No strings attached. And we'd love to hear your stories. Drop a
Absolutely.
comment. Let us know. Because, like Matt said, what you're going through, someone else is going through,
Absolutely.
and sharing that story can really be an encouragement to someone else that's walking that path right now. So we thank you for spending time with us today,
Yes. Thank
and
y'all.
we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Bye.